St. Paul tells the Galatians and us that for freedom, Christ set us free. Where do we get this freedom from? Well, from Jesus, of course. So you see, spiritually, right, God's graces transform us. Humanly, our discipline sets us up to live this life of freedom out. Today, we've got an awesome guest joining us to talk about discipline and to talk about how discipline in sports, faith, and even parenting can lead us to that imperishable crown of heaven. We are the Varsity Catholic Podcast. Welcome back to the Varsity Catholic Podcast. I'm your host, Brady Steer, here in our virtual studio once again with Ry. Ry, I'm calling this like our novena episode because it's episode 9. How do you think we're doing so far?
9 episodes. That's crazy. Honestly, I didn't think we'd be this far in. This is crazy. Our listeners can decide how we're doing so far. 9's a good number, though. I'm glad we've made it this far.
We're not experts, but we are trying. We're hoping, we're hoping the first 8 episodes are the worst 8 episodes. Not that they've been bad, but just like we're going to keep striving. We're going to keep getting better.
Yes. I thought we were in a rhythm of it. And then honestly, getting on the pod today, we had so many technical difficulties. We had a lot of hiccups. And I thought we were pros. And I think that was just a moment of humility to make us realize that we're really not pros yet, and we're actually way beginners.
We're going to keep rolling for like the next 20 episodes, and then it's going to be episode like 35, and we're going to hit this huge
Yep.
You guys were terrible today. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
Humility's always good. But we've got exciting stuff today. Brady, what's going on in the studio today?
One of your friends, which I actually need to ask you guys how the heck you even met. But we'll get there. Get there. So today's guest is a definition of strength inside and out. She's a dedicated CrossFit athlete and coach, a mom of 2 little ones, and someone whose life has been shaped by the gospel. After serving 3 years as a focused missionary alongside her husband, who continues to work as a missionary today, she and her family packed up, trusted God's call, and moved all the way over to Austria, across the pond, as they say. She's joining us to dive into what it truly means to live a life of discipline in mind, in body, and in soul. From the gym to motherhood to missionary life overseas, she brings a powerful testimony of intentional living and wholehearted discipline. It's an honor to welcome Savannah Imholte.
Oh my gosh. That is it's so humbling to hear a bio out loud of yourself. You're like, wait, what? That's crazy. But thank you so much for having me, you guys. I feel so honored to be, asked to be on this podcast.
Okay, jump right in. How do you guys know each other? I actually don't know how you met.
Sav, do you remember?
Meeting had to be at training, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In Lincoln.
Yes.
Probably through our good buddy, Sammy Gallupo. Right?
Maybe. I actually don't remember meeting, to be honest.
I
remember when we had a great conversation.
Okay,
yeah, you're like, I'm on the spot here. I don't remember this.
No.
I was wondering if you remembered.
I thought you remembered day one, first sentence. I don't either.
No.
I just remember
I
guess, I don't know, having, a couple of really deep, awesome conversations pretty quickly and thinking that I think we'd be pretty good friends.
Yeah, I do remember one of our first conversations was about CrossFit because I had recently retired from college athletics, and I was trying to figure out how to work out, and here Sav comes into training, and she's just this fit, awesome, married, she just looks like she's got her crap together and that she works out. And so I'm like, yo, what do you do? Because you're not a college athlete, and how did you stay in shape? And so her and her husband are we'll get into that, super avid CrossFitters, but they're telling me all about CrossFit, and they're trying to get me into it, and they're like, you're going to love it. And it took me a while to hop on the train, and I do wish I would have listened sooner. But I was training in Lincoln a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll take it. New staff training, you make a lot of friends there. A lot of people even meet their spouses there. So quick plug for people to join staff.
Absolutely.
True.
Okay, my first question then, kind of a fun opening one, is so obviously CrossFit there, you said it. I've actually done CrossFit as well. My wife actually was a level 1 CrossFit coach when we met, ironically. She got me into it. Long story short, we moved, so I'm no longer doing classes in a gym, but we have a home gym in our garage now, and I do a lot of CrossFit type workouts. So a fun question to always ask CrossFitters is, what's your least favorite CrossFit movement? Because there's a lot of crappy ones out there.
Oh, there sure are. My least favorite is probably strict handstand push-ups. I like kipping ones. Anything strict, I'm not good at. Like vertical strict, I guess, pushing. Yeah, strict handstand push-ups. They take everything out of me. I get like two.
Those get hard so fast.
The workout. Yeah.
Yeah. Brady, can you do strict handstand, Brady?
So yes, I actually was good at them a few years back. I was really good at them, but actually currently the answer is no. I've had a shoulder neck thing for the past few months, and so I was doing them and I like went over, and long story short, it's like I'm not even risking it. I can't even do strict press overhead right now. So
yeah.
I'm just jealous that you both have done one. I can only do kipping, and I'm like, how do you do it? So
right, they take everything out of me. Like that's why they're my least favorite. If it's in the workout, I'm like, well, I'll get to that point, and I'll probably be attempting them for the remainder of the AMRAP or whatever it is. So yeah.
I remember this. I remember the first time. I think like one of the first CrossFit classes I went to, they did jump roping, and Sav has been trying to get me on CrossFit forever, and I kept telling her I'll do it. So I finally started doing it. I was so proud of myself. Was feeling pretty good. And then we did jump roping one class, and everyone knows how to jump rope, right? Like you've done it since you were a kid. It's easy. It's simple. I was an athlete. Like I can do it. And here I am in the gym, and everyone and their mother is doing jump roping. I cannot get it. I'm in the corner and I'm so frustrated, and it's just, I can't get the rhythm. I couldn't do it. And I was so frustrated because I was, oh my gosh. It was just like so everyone knows how to jump rope. And so the first thing I did, I bring this up because the first thing I did, I got out of that 5 a.m. CrossFit class, and I texted Sav, and I was like, dude, I couldn't jump rope today. I think I'm quitting CrossFit. I was so mad.
Yeah. And you voice memoed me. Yeah.
I did. I was so mad.
It's so humbling.
But I was honestly, she made me feel better because she was like, dude, I've been there. Like, keep going. So thank you, Sav. You've been great on my CrossFit journey to continue trying. But yeah, to kick us off, when did you start CrossFit? Like, how did that kind of come in? I know your parents have a background in it, but how did this all kind of come about?
Yeah. So I really got into CrossFit after I graduated from school in 2018. I went to UMary. I ran cross country and track for the Marauders, hooks up. And I graduated in 2018, moved back home after a few years in the Twin Cities, but moved back home really briefly. My parents were very into CrossFit at the time, still are, but like we're just kind of getting rolling, I'd say, in the sport, and not even like in a really competitive sense, but had definitely drank the Kool-Aid. We're working out all the time at this CrossFit gym, and me coming from a distance running background, I had no concept of what CrossFit was. I really wasn't interested in it either. But coming out of running, I think I had been a little bit burnt out of the endurance world. I was pretty sick of hurting all the time and feeling really burnt out, and every joint in my body just hurt. So I think I craved feeling strong, and I recognized, this massive amount of muscular growth and athleticism and just like flexibility, mobility, all of the things within my parents who were had been athletes their whole lives. And so they were only getting stronger and better all of a sudden. And so I think I just tried a class with them over, a few weeks time after moving back really quick. And then ended up moving to Mankato. My husband and I got married in 2019. And after that, we moved to the Twin Cities. And my degree is in exercise physiology. And so I think I just kind of realized that like I wanted to get strong. I wanted to feel confident. And I knew that the quickest way to do that for myself, at least, was to, be able to express that physically. And that felt like strength training. That felt like something I had never done before. And so got into CrossFit a little bit more, I guess, in 2020. Right in the middle of things, I was coaching for a gym called Alchemy. If you guys are familiar with that, in the Denver area. It's also in Minneapolis. It's like CrossFit yoga blend. I coached for Orange Theory for a while. And then decided to get into, CrossFit. I went to the level 1 seminar, ended up coaching CrossFit from, or in the Twin Cities specifically for 3 years, I think, between 2021 and 2020, I guess 3 or 4. I might get my years mixed up, but right around there. And then moved back. My husband and I moved back to Spearfish, where I ended up coaching for my parents' CrossFit box. They actually bought a gym back in 2019. Or they started a gym, I should say, in 2019. So I ended up coaching for them for, around a year. And then we moved to Austria, and I do not currently coach in Austria because I'm not fluent in German. So here we are.
So do you see, you mentioned like when you were running, you're like, I need a different change of pace. And now you're in CrossFit. A lot of people, I think, see working out as a chore. Do you see working out as a chore, or do you see it as like something more, something that helps you to grow in your spiritual life too? And as a parent, how do you see working out? How do you vision working out in your life?
Gosh, it's such a broad question that I feel like has evolved for me in all of the different phases of my adult life so far. But right after school, I would definitely say that I viewed working out as a chore. I didn't look forward to it. But that was, I think, largely in part due to the fact that my view of working out was mileage. It was just time outside or time on a treadmill. And I didn't enjoy that. I was extremely burnt out, like I mentioned. Felt all the pains of being an endurance athlete for a long time. And so I think it took me, until starting CrossFit, until really like giving CrossFit a good go, to start enjoying working out again and not see it as a burden or some kind of chore or some obligation. And then once I understood that there was a little bit more out there in the world of working out, I really started to dig it. And I started to see that there were so many different avenues that I could go down. Within, CrossFit specifically, this isn't a CrossFit podcast, so not to beat that horse, but thinking about the scope of that sport, there's gymnastics, there's endurance, there's power, there's straight up weightlifting. There's so many different avenues that you can kind of, go down and really try and get good at and be competent in. And so that became fun again to me. I didn't see that as a chore. I saw that as a competitive outlet that I no longer had because I wasn't a competitive outlet or a competitive athlete anymore. Yeah. And so it became fun again. And I started, pushing my own limits and realizing that I was capable of a lot more than I ever thought I could do. So that was, I guess, early on in my career within CrossFit. And now I'd say it's absolutely an outlet. I would be lying if I said I still enjoy it all the time in the ways that I first did, because I'm a mom of 2 under 2, and I'm really tired a lot. I'm really pressed for time, and I don't get the same like endorphin rush that I do from certain things anymore. And so for me, I think now I experience discipline in working out so much more than I ever did. And with that, I still find joy in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So it's so interesting to watch how it's kind of like evolved throughout the years. And I'm experiencing a little bit similar in my own life, but you kind of talked about from the having to do it in college to kind of like wanting to go competition mode, which I think that's something we talk about too, is just the competitiveness that the Lord gives us. I think that's like a gift in and of itself, is like something to drive us, right? And then you go into motherhood and discipline. And so at the base of it all is like, yes, you're working out. What is your maybe why for working out? It could be that discipline and competitiveness, but you've kept coming back to the gym. And it's like, why is that important to come back to the gym? Or why is that important now that you're a mother? It could be easy to be like, I've wrangled kids all day. I have spit up on my shoulder. My kids were throwing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you, I think I saw your Instagram story recently and it was like 7:30 p.m. and you were going to the gym. How do you get to the gym at 7:30 p.m. and why? Why is that important for you to go?
Yeah. I've reflected on this so much recently because I thought the same thing. I'm like, why am I going to the gym right now? I live in Vienna, Austria. I have no reason to be walking to the gym at 8 p.m. right now, And so I had to do a lot of self-reflection as to like why I do the things that I do these days. And right now I can say that it's absolutely habitual, for better or worse in some cases. But going back a little bit and digging a little bit deeper, I recently heard I guess it was a podcast of a homily of Father Mike's, and he talks about how faith is obedience, and he compares this to working out. But he kind of talks about how the simple act of doing something simply because God says to do it is faith in action. And then comparing that to working out and eating well, discipline and like making the choice to do that thing doesn't always come with that instant gratification of seeing the why or the fruition of that choice, right? So you might end up, like you often end up having to make the choice simply because you believe deep down somewhere, for some reason, you believe that it matters whether you do that thing or you don't. And so ultimately the choice that you're making will inevitably like culminate into this thing that you believe is worth it. And so obviously that's so easy to relate to the faith, but within our own habits and our own health and working out at large, I think it's just a choice that I've made over and over again that I somewhere along the way decided was like, it doesn't actually matter how I feel. This is the choice that I'm making because I ultimately have decided that this choice, this yes right now actually does matter. Even if I'm tired, even if I don't feel like it, especially when I don't feel like it most of the time.
Amen.
Yeah.
Father Mike, and again, this is like directly from him too. I used to work up in Minnesota, Duluth with him, so it's funny. I'm like, I think I learned that from Father Mike. I think I heard that from Father Mike. Yeah, probably somewhere. Bishop Barron, Father Mike, someone like that. Some Sikh talk, awesome. Which he might have given to. But yeah, just along the same lines, it's we're Catholic. You don't always feel like going to mass, especially when you're a missionary. You got holy hour, rosary, daily mass every day. It's like you don't always feel like going, but you actually give God glory more when you go and you don't feel like it versus when you do. Because Father Mike was saying, because then you're not going because you're getting anything out of it. You're going because you love God the Father and you're respecting Him, you're honoring Him, you're worshiping. You're not doing it for yourself, which is the best time to go. And similar to athletics then, right? It's easy to work out and to get a PR in CrossFit when it's, oh, we're doing a cardio thing that I love today. It's like, okay, great. But today's workout is actually strict handstand push-ups. You're like, well, now is where I get to actually carry a little bit of a cross and maybe I can offer that up in another way. So to attach this even further, you made me think about, do you know the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin? I think I said that right. You guys heard of this book?
So.
Okay. It's a very...
Not a big reader.
They're two former Navy SEALs. And so when you're listening to like the audio book, you got Jocko Willink, who's intense, and then his partner Leif is, I'm Leif Babin. You're like, holy cow, your voice is even deeper than his. It's crazy. But they tell like real life military stories from the front lines. But part of the book, the reason why I bring it up is because the book is Extreme Ownership. It's about extreme ownership, like flat out every chapter. Part of it in there, Jocko talks about discipline equals freedom. And I'm thinking about, he is not coming from a spiritual aspect when he says this, but it's 100% true. When you are disciplined in your life, it does equal freedom for you, right? We're talking about through sport, through your personal life, through your faith life, through parenting. If you're disciplined, you actually have more freedom. So I guess, not to ask an obvious question, but I do have a follow-up to it as well. But it's like, have you found this to be true in your own life? When you've made yourself disciplined and obedient, has it given you more freedom in your everyday life?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Especially since having 2 kids. Thomas and I, my husband and I joke all the time that I don't know how people have 2 kids, especially within this age gap, and aren't fit. Like, how do you have... how do you have like a 1.5-year-old that you gotta hold and also be like holding, sometimes like just being real breastfeeding the other one? Like, how do you do that if you're not fit, if you don't have the physical capacity and the freedom to be able to do that, And all of that is this culmination of these choices that we've made over time to be able to like physically support our family, like literally physically support our family. So yeah, the physical fitness piece of, or the discipline piece of physical fitness, I think absolutely transcends to the rest of our life nowadays. Yeah. And we see that in so many different ways. I think, beyond that too, there's there's things that, like if you talk about freedom in your everyday life, things that you don't have to think twice about because you know that you're going to make the best decision for your health and your family's health. I don't know if that makes sense, but there are certain moments, especially here in Europe, there's stunning cafes on every corner. And it would be really, really easy for us to stop on a casual Tuesday and have a latte or two or a cappuccino or two and like this beautiful looking scone or croissant and just like indulge, you know. But I think the scope in which we live our lives, this discipline of like, we don't just veg out. We don't just eat the things that we want to eat whenever we feel like it. We don't just not go to mass. We don't just not pray. Like all of these things have given us this guideline and therefore this freedom to actually live in the way that gives us the most joy. So even though I'd say to the world, it would probably look restrictive, it's absolutely a way of freedom. We have this this ability to say yes to the things that we want and that are our ultimate or for our ultimate good. It's not like we're, you know, living in some kind of regime and saying no to all pleasure and all joy and happiness over here. But, you know, like the discipline absolutely matters in what you say yes and no to.
Yeah, you said you have the ability to say yes, and you also have the ability to say no. Because what is addiction? It's like not being able to say no to something. So I talk about this with my high schoolers a lot, is the addiction to social media or the addiction to sweets. Like I am the biggest sweet tooth. I love sweets so much. And it's like for times I just have to completely cut sweets out because it's like I hate not being able to say no to something. And it's like you're saying, this ability to say no or the ability to say yes. And those are built on like little small choices every day. Whether you're a high school athlete, college athlete, retired athlete, it's like you build these habits. Waking up to your alarm on time. I think that is like one of the biggest, most simple, but still a hard choice to make. Build like habit builder of virtue. It's if you wake up to your alarm on time, if you don't hit snooze, that's a choice that you can make. And it's a habit builder and you do it every day. And so it's like that right there is a virtue builder. And I think people think virtue is like something that's really hard to achieve or freedom, like you're saying, or going to the gym. But it starts with those little things like turning off your alarm on time and getting up, you know?
I want to relate to the audience really quick because this is in my head when you were talking, Ry. And so hopefully somebody out there relates to this. I have this thing, I love sweets as well, where it's funny because I'll work out. And one of my first thoughts after I work out is, well, I just worked out, so now I can have a nice dessert tonight. Or I'll have desserts. I'll have some like, you know, pig out over the weekend and be like, okay, now Monday's workout is I have to do it because of what I ate this weekend. So it's not meant to be a cycle like that, but I find myself like, well, that balances this, and now I have to do this to get it back.
Yeah. Brady, on that point about balance and kind of like trying to figure out a good balance, something that's really helped me in my life actually is when Sav was on the Daily Nothings episode. I listened to the whole thing. It's great. Recommend go listen to it. But you had talked about it was either do the next hard thing or do the next right thing. St. Joan of Arc. Was it do the next hard thing or do the next right thing?
I think she said hard.
Okay. So you talked about that. Okay, cool. So you talked about that, and that has like shaped a lot of my thoughts of even in a workout, do the next hard thing. I can do this next hard thing. Getting up in the morning, do the next hard thing. Eating healthy, do the next hard thing. Getting off Instagram, whatever it is, do the next hard thing. Talk us through maybe your side of that quote, Sav, and kind of how it shaped your life, because it's meant a lot to me what you said in that episode.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's spoken to you because it's definitely shaped my workouts in the same way that you were kind of describing. It's just such an easy mantra or go-to in the middle of a workout, like do the next hard thing, just kind of pick up the bar, it's going to be hard kind of thing in a CrossFit workout for sure. But I feel like I've actually probably used it a little bit more in my faith journey than I have in working out recently. And probably more so over time as well. I've thought of it more in prayer than I have in working out, probably, you know, as a whole. And really with that, I just mean like it's harder to not take credit for this thing, or it's harder for me to not like talk about this suffering that I'm going through. It's harder for me to yeah, I don't know, like not be acknowledged in certain ways that I would love to be acknowledged or affirmed in or whatever. So the harder thing, I think, for me, or the way that I've kind of, you know, tried to manifest that quote in my own life, has definitely come up more in my spiritual walk with Jesus, and definitely continues to. I think nowadays, especially as a mom of 2 living abroad, the next hard thing is to, I guess, try and kind of continue conversation with someone in a foreign language. But even when it ultimately comes to like a screeching halt, because I don't know what they said in German, I end up just trying to like have a smile on my face, even though it seems like they're mad or frustrated at me. Like the next hard thing for me is very different every day now. But yeah, and I'd be lying if I said that I think about that every single day. But yeah,
right.
It's manifested in different ways, I guess, over time.
Well, this podcast is all about connecting faith and sports. I think one thing that really needs to come across for people to kind of grasp in their life, what we're talking about today, is like you have all this discipline from sports and athletics. And when we talk about like the interior life and growing, like physical stuff is hard, and it's hard to do the hard thing, the hard workout. What's even more hard for most people, right, is the mental side, the doing the homework, the going through that tough project, to thinking through finances. And what's a step above that is the spiritual life, actually diving deep into who you are, who God is, asking the hard questions, realizing like, oh, this world is not all about me. And then you become a parent and you're like, it's really not about me anymore. And it's like, how do I, you know, so it's like, but taking that in full swing, we're talking about how your discipline in sports early on has allowed you to do it now through the rest of your life. And if I were to ask you, what's the ultimate goal of your life? Like, what would you say, Sav, is the ultimate goal of your life?
Sainthood.
Sainthood, right? Getting to heaven. And you want that for your family. You want that for your children. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I wasn't even afraid to ask you that. I knew you were going to give me the right answer.
risky.
If that's like our ultimate mission on earth, like what's your vision for you? What are you doing? And to live this disciplined life so you can be free to live that out is, I think, is a great way to do that. So coming full circle here, attaching faith and sport, how have you... Maybe you haven't gotten a lot of opportunities. Maybe you have. Basically, how have you used CrossFit and working out and things like that to like be able to spread the faith, right? Or how do you use your workout to glorify God? Could be another way to ask.
Yeah, a really cool piece of CrossFit, not to just keep plugging this, but a really cool piece of the sport in and of itself is that so many workouts are actually named after people, and you do them to commemorate, you know, something that they did that was extremely heroic. A lot of the CrossFit workouts are driven from the military, or done in commemoration of like a fallen soldier or lots of fallen soldiers. And so with that kind of mindset, like the sport kind of wraps itself around doing something, and doing something for a bigger reason or a bigger cause, something a little bit more like deeper than just the workout of the day. And so trying to like rein in my thoughts here to make sure I'm answering your question. But I think along those same lines, it's easy to go into a CrossFit workout and know that this is going to be extremely hard. It's going to push me in ways that I may not be ready to push or to be pushed today. And with that, there's going to come a lot of maybe emotional pull or emotional or more so for myself, at least. It feels like when I'm going through something emotionally or psychologically difficult, if I'm pushed physically, those things tend to come up with it, right? And so it's difficult for me sometimes to go to a workout and not have everything I'm dealing with that day also rise when I'm being physically tested. And so it's easier for me to be like, I'm going to attach all of these things. It's similar to Saint Therese, right? Like offering up all of her daily annoyances and a beautiful bouquet at the end of the day to Jesus. In the same way, I try and think of all of these stupid things that bog me down or stress me out or overwhelm me and take those into my workout and say that in that moment where I'm like, wow, I could really lose it right now, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, I'm going to use all of these things that I've collected throughout the day and put this moment, this hardship, this physical suffering towards this cause. And a lot of the things that I feel like I bring into a workout, or I bring into a difficult day, end up being like, you know, a worry or a prayer ultimately for someone that I care about, or some bigger thing than myself. So trying to like offer up those moments, I guess, is really the underlying idea. I just imagine you know, like struggling with Thomas, and you're just like, Thomas, and you just get it out, and you're like, oh, that's a relief. yeah, exactly.
I love that image of like the bouquet, but working out. I love that. And it's awesome, because is working out or is CrossFit a necessity to sainthood? Not at all. Right. But I do believe, as we talk about in this podcast, that the Lord gives people different gifts or motivations, or, I mean, look at the saints. Like, they all have different gifts. They all have different ways that they became a saint. And I do believe that he does give us this competitiveness, or this a love for working out, or different athletics to boost us to sainthood, to give us these little pathways of like, this is how I know to work out, to offer up. This is the way that I know. I remember the first time I did the Chad workout. It's like 1,000 box step ups, and you just do 1,000 box step ups every time. And I remember I took into that workout every 10 that I did, it was someone new. And I would go around the box, and I'm like, I'm offering up for this person. And then I go to the next side, I'm offering up for this person. And so how do you see that, like, everyday monotony of those workouts, or everyday offering up of those workouts, tying into and maybe you don't, but I'm just curious, tying into the everyday monotony of prayer, everyday, I don't know if it's okay to call prayer monotony, but sometimes it's like, it's another 30 minutes to sit here, or it's another, like, I don't have anything to give today or to offer. How do you see that kind of, if you see the connection in prayer and working out?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't know if I've really sat with that before, but they're absolutely connected. I think it probably goes back to the idea of choice and discipline, you know, recognizing that whether I say yes or no to this decision right now actually does matter. Even if I feel like it, even if I don't, even if I have something to offer, even if I fall asleep, you know, like there is a reason behind our yes, and there's a reason behind our no. And the yes, like the things that we say yes to in the day are ultimately the things that have the power to shape our character, our physical attributes, our like our fitness, but ultimately our holiness. You know, like the little things over time are totally also the things that are going to build the habit. That's I wish that my habit of prayer were the same as my habit of working out these days, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the goal. But yeah, I don't know if that fully answers your question, right? But I would totally say that they're absolutely
Thanks for giving it a shot. Yeah, I
love that. I connect to that. I often find myself kicking myself like, man, I just did this really hard workout, but I could hardly get through prayer today. I'm like, why is it so much difficult sometimes? Like, why can I give myself so much to this thing that's not going to last when my soul matters more? We're just wrestling with that. I'm actually curious. This a little off topic, but a little on topic. What kind of a CrossFit coach are you? I picture you as like a really high encourager, like not yelling, but like, you know, yelling as much as you can. Like, come on, you got this. Come on, Ry, go. Are you like that? Are you a little more chill? What's your style?
I feel like I let a really good playlist do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. In addition to, if you've got 30 seconds left, all you're going to hear is me screaming at you. And or if it's like max
you're
out
as
day,
close as you can to the box.
I'm going to be in your face. Yeah. But I also, it's something I'm working on in my internal life because, I use like non-constructive criticism as motivation for myself to work out really, really hard. You know, I tell myself I'm not doing very good you're kind of weak right now. Like all the nasty things actually push me to be like, move, I've got this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove myself wrong. And that doesn't work for everybody. Like that kind of coaching stuff. And I've never whipped all that out in a class, but I've realized that like even my tone that I use with myself doesn't actually translate to everybody. So, yeah, learned a lot over the years, but
it would work
I'm a little bit of.
You could coach me.
Okay, good. I'd say majority of athletes absolutely know what I'm talking about and would like it. But
right. Again, and I think that's the gift that comes to athletes is like the Lord shapes us in different ways, and different things push us. And I think, like you're saying, Sav, I think 90% of the people listening to us is probably like, I want to be pushed that way. I want her to talk to me that way.
Yes.
I do have to clarify, because what you said is so true for athletes, but one of the hiccups that athletes have then is in their spiritual life. They say, I suck, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to do this, where we have to surrender more and give into more of God's grace. So that's probably a whole nother podcast topic. But just like as athletes listening to this, working harder in your faith doesn't necessarily always work the way it does in athletics, where you can just go get an extra workout at the gym.
Yeah. And piggybacking off that, doesn't work in parenthood. Doesn't work. You can't like mother harder. You have to like actually mother softer sometimes. Performance-based anything is not good. It is so worldly.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay. We got one final question for you. We ask everybody this. It's kind of your time to shine. So if you had one final message to anybody listening, what would you want to say to them today?
I think I would say that you are capable of doing so much more than you think you can, not because you solely are capable, but because the Lord has already given you the grace to do the hard thing that maybe you don't think you can currently do, or maybe you're in the middle of and you don't think you can do. I've really been praying with the verse in 2 Timothy 1:6, which is the verse right before it talks about how the Lord did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-control. And that, those three attributes right there are probably what I would want my children to grow up and say, these are the attributes that my mom had, But prior to that, the verse right before that, St. Paul says that fan the flame of the gift of the Holy Spirit that has been bestowed on you through the laying on of my hands. So essentially, and again, quoting Father Mike here, he talks about how we have already been given the grace to do everything that comes our way, everything that we like have a deep desire to accomplish, the really, really hard things that we want to do or maybe we don't want to do. We actually have everything we need within us to accomplish those things, but it only can come about through fanning the flame of grace that has already been bestowed in us. And so that only comes through prayer, through your relationship with God, right? Like you can't do that by yourself. So lean into your spiritual life way, way more than your fitness, but they're so interconnected. And if you do it the right way, if you order it correctly, they absolutely will benefit from each other. That would be my advice.
I love it.
Love that.
Ry, any final thoughts, comments, anything?
Fan that flame, baby. Sav, it was so good to have you on here. And gosh, I could talk to Sav all day. I think back to our first summer training, I just loved listening to your brain and how the Lord has shaped you through these gifts that he's given you, and just through CrossFit and through coaching and now motherhood. Such a gift to have you on here today.
Closing us off with that Bible verse too. Now I have something to pray with tomorrow. This is going to be great. I'm going to look into that. Let's go.
So do the next hard thing.
Do the next hard thing. I love it. Well, that's going to be a wrap for us today for the Varsity Catholic Podcast. Check out more of what we do on Instagram at Varsity Catholic. Always share this with a friend or with a teammate. Do some nasty CrossFit burpees on those like, follow, subscribe buttons so that you not only keep up with the content we're delivering, but also help others realize that there is purpose beyond the game. There is purpose beyond the workout. So always remember to compete well, finish the race, and keep the faith.